Hello and welcome to the all-new Marvel Roundup, the Southgate Media Group's guide to the Marvel Comics of the week, part of the Nuff Said podcast. I am Phil Parrish, and joining me, as always, is the Professor himself.
Charlie Esser.
Alright, and you're starting us off tonight, right, Charlie?
Yeah, I'm starting it off with Infamous Iron Man. Now, you may not agree on this, Phil, because I know we both read it. We both read all the books this week. Rarity, but it's going to help us get through here fast. Little soft on Infamous.
I can kind of see that.
Killing me, much like Patsy Walker killed me, having to drop my comic book wife, or one of my comic book wives, you know? This book is everything I should love, but it's like, where are we going? You know, we're at issue 4. We don't have an established arc, and we don't have any kind of resolution. You know, we've gotten, I'm Victor Von Doom, and I'm going to be an Iron Man now. But we don't have a goal for him. We don't have any revelations yet. And it's a little soft here. We open up with Maria Hill, who is still in charge of something for some reason. I'm not sure what she's in charge of, but although I guess maybe this takes place before the trial, maybe that's the time. So this takes place prior to the events of Captain America 10. Write that down, kids.
And we'll get there.
Probably takes place prior to the events of Captain America 9. Anyway, so there's a big brap. Red alert! Victor Von Doom's here! Oh no! What are we gonna do? And of course, everyone's got guns on him, and there's lights, and there's Victor Von Doom being all supervillainy and saying, I am not the bad guy no more, so stop trying to shoot me, because I'm a good guy now, yes? And it's like, Maria Hill's like, no, that's not how this works. Although, for what it's worth, Maria Hill recognizes, like, okay, he's not sitting in the middle of our office. He's sitting here because he's not really here. You know, I mean, or whatever we're doing here, it's him basically just sitting here. So let's just talk quietly. And they don't. We come to Latveria, where we see Doom walking through and this is interesting because, like, all of a sudden he's got his cloak on as Iron Man. He didn't have his cloak on before, so apparently, much like Vision, he just unfurls the cloak every time he sees Thor. I don't know. He takes some gun away from some children. Some soldiers shoot at him. He gets all magic-y at them. He gets attacked by some Doom bots, which he finds insulting because, after all, he made those, and he loses his cloak again. He meets the general that he left in charge, who's like, who is really, honestly, I think kind of a sad sack in this story, and just to emphasize, like, what an idiot Dr. Doom is, because he's like, you left us, you went and did something else. He says, but I put you in charge to, create a democracy and left there. It's like, and you could just see the guy sitting here saying, do you have any idea the second you left how much chaos there was? You know, I mean, I'm assuming this guy is not even maybe necessarily even a bad guy. He's just a guy who's trying to deal with the fact that they went from having a supervillain overlord to nobody. And it's not like he called up Doc Ock and said, Doc, I need you to run my country for me. I need another supervillain that can be all supervillainy. That's not as good as me, but, we'll be pretty good and make a transition to democracy at some point. He's like, you be in charge, and that'll work, right? Because I told everyone to just listen to you. And it's like, yeah, that works just fine, Doom. Let's forget the fact that you've been deposed, you've had revolutions here before. There's like a lot of people not happy with the Latvian way. Anyway, so he tells him who to make the new prime minister and flies off. And you can see this guy's like, you are such a dip, Doom. Then Doom goes to his old castle. And this is like the most offensive part about it. They totally wharf Grimm. They totally wharf the Thing. and then it's like, yes, I know. I knew when I walked in. Hello, mother. It's like, really, Doom.
No.
Your raison d'etre is this whole nonsense with your mom, and it's like, no, I was totally aware. It's like Tony Stark saying, oh yeah, that rock star. That's who my mom was. I knew that. Her and some random Shield agent. That's who my parents were.
That's
I just
Tony
didn't
Stark.
want to tell me. Yeah, no, I know.
Oh, okay.
Did I say Tony Stark or did I say someone else?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Doom, but no, I know what you're saying.
It's like Tony Stark saying. That's what I meant to say. It's like Stark saying, "Oh yeah, I know exactly who my mom is." It's like, no, this should have been kind of a surprise to you, Doom. Now I guess maybe it's like, well, once she was freed from hell, then me and her, we talk all the time. It's good. It's like old times. We sit there. She sings "Hapa Hapa Laita" to me. It's great. That is a German song you sing to your children, "Hapa Hapa Laita," which is a really, really disturbing, sad song about a rider falling off his horse and being eaten by ravens. My parents never sing me that verse. They just sing me the verse where he fell in the mud. But there's other verses where it gets pretty dark because it's German. Anyway, yeah, I'm real soft on it. I mean, I love the characters. I still love Doom. I still love everything about him in trying to be a hero. I love the fact that they don't shy away from the fact that he is in no way a hero. He is absolutely still just a completely idiotic sociopath who has no concept of how humans interact with one another. But it's like, but there's no story here yet.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no story. I mean, if he was building towards an Infamous 4, if we'd gotten a hint that there was an Infamous 4 coming about, okay, if we had gotten a hint that there was something more, but right now it's just totally the surface. You're not going to give us our reveal until issue 5? That's an awful lot to ask of us, Marvel, for $3.99, and I don't even know if this is a digital book yet, Because I haven't entered in my codes yet. It's like, I don't even know if I got all my books. So.
Yeah, all the codes were still good, so.
Okay, so that's good. So it might have just been that one time might have been a fluke.
Well, I think February it's coming.
Yeah, I still got to write that letter. Ugh.
No.
Well, you know what? Here's what I'm going to say. It's like stuff will get cut. If it's not there, it'll get cut. That's all there is to it. And I'm not going to play this with you, Marvel. You got the expensive books, and you don't give me something for that. I'm going to say, you know what, Marvel? It's been real. Okay. What did you think of this book, Phil?
I like it. I'm giving it a shaky thumbs up, but I mean, it's a thumbs up. But I know what you mean. I think it's the whole Bendis, or Bendis. But he likes to get wordy, and he likes. I don't know. I guess he just thinks he likes those. He likes those shock moments, like, oh, there's Victor Von Doom in Shield headquarters. It's just like, okay, but what's the payoff? Is anything going to come of that?
Exactly. It's like, wordiness, shockiness. That's all great. But then, like, a story that you're telling, have that. Don't have a, There's a rule when you write action films, you write porn films also, and pretty much any film that there's like the beats you have to hit at certain points. You can read this in any screenwriting dialogue. But the fact of the matter is, just hitting those beats aren't enough. Just saying, well, by your first page you should have a really, what's going on, But it actually has to tie into a larger story. And you can't just say, well, in the trade it'll make sense. It's because, like I said, at $3.99, I don't know if I'm buying a trade. Teen Titans has made it to 5 issues because it's $2.99. If you're $2.99, this might not have made it to 3 issues. And right now, Infamous, you're on 4, based on the fact that you have Benjamin Grimm and Victor Von Doom in it. Okay, you got my absolute favorite character, my absolute favorite villain, and I'm soft on you. Bendis fixed it. Okay.
So is it a thumbs up?
I mean, yeah, it's a thumbs up. It's still good. It's still, here's what I'm going to say. Like I said, it's a shaky thumbs up. It's like, I mean, I'm not going to say, hey, don't read it, but I'm also not going to say, oh, go out and buy it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can argue it's a thumb to the side, but it's not so bad that it's just, where it's like, like if someone's, hey, should I pick up Infamous Iron Man? It's like, yeah, it's good, it's enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like Victor Von Doom? Do you like Ben Grimm? Yeah, then certainly pick it up. He does well by both characters. But if someone said, hey, is this like, I only got $3.99 this week, what should I buy? I'm not going to say Infamous Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's your next book, Phil?
All right, I guess I'll do Prowler number 4.
Ooh,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a problem with this issue. Just because I don't know how this one. I don't know, if it's like pushing the story along. Because I thought when they said this was going to be tie in the Clone Conspiracy, we're going to get extra stuff. But like half this issue is just like the end we saw at the last issue of Clone Conspiracy.
Yeah, but it's a Rashomon. It's like here's what Hobie was dealing with.
There. Yeah, I know.
And so it's Hobie's thoughts in this moment, and that's good. Here's what I'm going to say that I really liked about this, because there was something weird introduced in the middle of it.
Yes, I think I know what you're talking about.
Which is when Madame Web is dying, and forgetting her name all of a sudden.
Julia.
Julia Carpenter. She's like, I came here with Hobie, and she says, save Hobie.
Mm-hmm.
And she says something about, I just gave him the pill. And she says, no, save Hobie.
She says, no, not him. And then she dies. Yeah.
And then she dies. Suggesting that maybe Hobie didn't die.
Maybe the ones that were already alive aren't dead, but that maybe Ben Rowley's keeping them on ice and just clone, like, copies of them.
Maybe something. There's a mystery there, which is interesting. But that'll be, like, hard, man, if we, like, separate from the two, where, like, if they bring out... It's sort of like if they ever do bring back Rhodey as the cyborg. He's like, I have no idea what you people are talking about. I have been out of it for this years. Although there is a workaround for that, too, which we'll get to when we get to the Oath. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean that was interesting.
Yeah, because that's basically what this issue was. It was, like I said, we got a lot of the scenes from the last issue of Clone Conspiracy, like the big fight at the end. But like the other stuff we got was, Julia brings Hobie back and gives him his medication. Then she's snooping around because she wanted to get into New U, and she finds the original Madame Web, and she gives her that whole Hobie speech and dies. But then at the end, when the sound goes off and they all start mutating, Toby goes after Julia, thinking she's behind it because he's going crazy, and she kind of, I guess she dislocates his shoulder, and then she like runs into the facility. So
I'm not quite sure the extent of her powers. I only know that she has the psychic web, and I haven't seen her use any other spider powers. Although I think she can stick to walls. I'm not sure of that.
As Spider-Woman, she could, but then like she was like the second Madame Web for a while, so I don't know what became of her powers, if they changed or.
Well, clearly she was tied into Madame Web because they wind up communicating, which I thought was a cool bit. It was a pretty. I mean, all in all, I liked the book. I wasn't too bothered by the fact that it was just a rehash, because you did get this whole internal dialogue for Hobie, and you get to see him struggling with this idea, I always pick the wrong side kind of thing, which I thought is a great point about poor Hobie. And, I am, and like I said, and that one, and for what it's worth, to toss some out there at Bendis, just one line, like, no, not him.
Yeah.
That's like, what do you mean not him? What's the mystery here, Infamous, no mystery right now. But this, a lot of mystery. It's like, wait. Is there more to this conspiracy than we're thinking?
But yeah, I think that line kind of saved it for me, as again, it's like another shaky thumbs up. Like, I can't remember if this is a miniseries or if it's going to keep going after Clone Conspiracy. But if it was, like, they better give me something more, because But I mean, that line kind of saved it for me. It's like I said, another shaky thumbs up for me.
Okay. Let's move on to Hulk.
Are you giving it thumbs up?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. You know, I'm not a regular reader of Hobie.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna, I can't. It's like this. If someone asks me, is it a good book? I said, yeah, it's a good book. I don't really have a lot of negative to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now you read all the Spider-Man books, so I'm sure if I had read like this same dang scene, like this is the 4th time I'm reading it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's just the 3rd time I'm reading it, and every time I've read it, there's a little more character.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I was a little more upset in the Amazing Spider-Man doing it because in the Clone Conspiracy book, I'd already gotten Peter's perspective.
Yes.
It's like, and now we'll do Peter's perspective again. It's like, that's a little annoying. But like, if you had done this whole scene from the Rhino's perspective, I was like, oh, that is fascinating. Is Rhino a clone? Rhino's not a clone, is he?
I think supposedly they're all clones because I think don't they all have to take their medication?
Yeah, but Rhino was alive when the guy in the red suit came to him.
Yeah, I don't know. I know he promised to bring his wife back.
Yeah, that might be a thing there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe once you join up, then you get made into a clone.
Maybe.
So maybe all the people that were still alive, like Rhino, are still kept some. Like Hope. Okay, so let's open up with Hulk number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it seems like we were further in this because this was a good issue. I liked this. I was really wrapped up in it. Open up with Jen. She's at and dealing with, and it's amazing how much this PTSD is like just getting to her, and it's like. It's interesting as in a comic book because obviously you think about a character like Jen Walters. She has been messed over by the Psycho Man.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's giving her PTSD. And
well, I think it's a combination. I think it's like a combination of like PTSD plus it's she was knocked out of the fight, and when she wakes up, her cousin's dead, a bunch of her friends are dead, and she's thinking, if I'd been there, maybe I could have done something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, certainly, it's a lot more. I actually think it might have a lot to do with just how personal it is. That when the cycle, and that's the thing. It's sort of like with the Purple Man. When the Purple Man attacks you, when Psycho Man attacks you, when the freaking Ringmaster Dr. Faustus attacks you, you don't feel like this was you. With the trauma she felt. And the feeling of separation when her cousin dies and all these things. These are all things that occurred that were real. They weren't someone manipulating the story. It was just what happened to her. So I do get that that's a little more traumatic. And it makes for this interesting concept about superheroes and the traumas they do experience. Just the fact that it can be a little... that when you're invulnerable, it's easy to not feel it, but because of that, when something very real like this happens, it can take all those little things that you sort of ignored for the last few years and just really bring it to a head. We see her meeting the landlord, who is just. I don't know. I've known slumlords. None of them ever look like this, but he is. They have certainly made it so you don't feel too sorry for him when his ultimate comeuppance comes. After that we see Jen in Central Park. We see her sipping hot cocoa while all the children are playing. One of the parents is like, "That child has a stick. I must do something." Then all of a sudden they say, "It's the Hulk," because they've built a big snowman, and they all attack the Hulk. The snowman. This is giving her a flashback. And then one of the kids says, "Hawkeye to the rescue!" and throws his snowball, which knocks the head off the Hulk. And you see Jen be kind of taken out of it by Flo, who is the writer who had come to her earlier, and she has a corgi. Because, sure, writers all have corgis. That's so stereotypical. I'm just picking up people with small dogs in New York. And basically, Jen is like, no. Leave me. I told you to leave me alone." And she pushes past everyone, but she's holding her Hulk in until she gets to her office, where she's trying to calm down. She has a little Hulk out, and of course she gets a call from I'm forgetting her name, but the black-eyed crazy girl, who basically the landlord said, "Hey, she may be paying her rent, but she is freaking crazy, and I don't want to have people who are crazy in my house."
Mm-hmm.
Although, not for nothing, it's like, she's an inhuman, she's crazy. Maybe you should let her be.
Mm-hmm.
If she's not damaging the apartment and the apartments above or below, maybe you should let her be, because clearly she might have crazy superpowers that could eat you. Super gay Asian assistant. It's okay. He said he was super gay.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure how I feel about that, because but it's one of these things where I can imagine. It's always one of these weird things when people do that kind of almost stereotypical identifier, where you can see it in a real situation that someone did that, and you imagine that some of that is like, okay, I'm just going to put this out there because if I embrace the stereotype, it makes it easier to be accepted, and I can totally see that. So he gives her a power bar, dark chocolate and cashews, I think. Anyway, Jen is walking home. She's feeling like she's being watched. Annoying landlord's walking home, yelling at someone. And then they both look behind them, says, "Hello, what? Who's there?" And then crazy junk monster hacks, and Jen is fine, and he is a little pile of shmush on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And that's issue Hulk 10. Thumbs up for it. It was actually really a great book, really enjoyable, very powerful. I really like the Hulk. I really like Jen. I like this Jen. It's such a complex and interesting thing for this character, and to break away from the character so much, I really think they give her a lot of wonderful depth in it. So yeah, thumbs up for me.
Yeah, thumbs up. I really enjoyed it also. I wish we could have got a little more Hulk, but it was a good story.
Yeah, I think we're only going to get Hulk sparingly.
Maybe.
I'll be honest. Because we didn't get Hulk last time. I think because the whole point is that she doesn't want to Hulk out. She's kind of in that early. She's almost kind of in that David Banner stage where it's like the Hulk is thing that isn't an enjoyable place to be. Where it's like, there's no part of her that wants to go back to being the Hulk right now because it speaks so much of her trauma. And of course, I've always made this point about people who transform, how that persona shift can be so jarring, which is why Ben Grimm doesn't transform, because if he doesn't transform, he can be Ben Grimm. But if he transforms, then the thing becomes a thing and he becomes Ben Grimm. And Jen Walters had spent most of her time as the She-Hulk because that was just, she was in a copacetic place with her alter ego. So like if Spider-Man could just wear the mask all the time, or Iron Man could just wear the armor all the time. But you even see that sometimes with those kind of characters, how there is that shift between their personas. And now She-Hulk is kind of dealing with the fact that when she becomes the She-Hulk or the Hulk, there is a shift, and now she's, because of all the trauma that she is carrying with her, that shift is much scarier. Because she does feel that rage and that anger, and she's trying to control it and not be the monster her cousin feared keep. So what do you got, Phil?
All right, then I guess I'll go to Extraordinary X-Men number 18. I like this issue a lot better than last week's X-Men issue.
This was a nice little bottle episode, where it's all pretty self-contained, and I liked that.
Yeah, Forge is working on the machine. I guess it's something for the Terrigen Mists, And I like the line. What did he say? He because in the beginning he's explaining it like he's talking about his powers, and he said he's a mid. I am a midwife of the impossible. I like that.
Yeah. Although, here's what I'm going to say on this. I don't know exactly how Forge's powers work, but it is one of these things where it's like, gee, if, when you have a Forge
Mm-hmm.
on your team, and this is the good guy X-Men. These weren't like, the dude, we're going to just kill everyone right now. This was like the X-Men were like, no, let's find a way. This is Storm's X-Men, so it's like, let us find a way to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Forge on your team, and you have the Beast on your team. And it's like, did anyone stop to say, can we find a way to recrystallize Terrigen? Because to me, that seems like that is what everyone should have been working towards.
Mm-hmm.
Humans didn't want the Terrigen just floating around willy-nilly either. And yes, it was Black Bolt's last act before he came back from the dead, but still, and actually I think it might have been the Skrull Black Bolt. I'm not even 100% sure on that. Crazy. But, the idea that maybe if we could just recrystallize the Terrigen, we solve the problem. Maybe putting Beast and Forge on something like that might have made this all work out a lot better, But aside from that, apparently they've created and said this because, of course, and I think that's the thing is like with Forge, it's like they said, well, let's build a machine that does this, but they had like thought about it a little deeper than I said, well, what if we just made a machine that did this, and then maybe we don't have to go to war? And then someone said, but that's not going to sell any comic books. Who's going to buy a comic book if we all just agree to figure out a way to rationally solve our problems?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what happens in the actual book, Phil? that was my only. I like the book because it actually has a really good personal story to be told in it with Forge, which I really loved.
Yeah. Well, Storm comes in, wants to know if the machine's ready, and Forge says yeah, and he seems to want to talk about their previous relationship. She says this isn't the time. So then she sends Old Man Logan with Forge up to Alberta to, I guess, set up the machine. Because the way, I guess, the cloud switched courses again. But, so they're in the plane on the way up. And Forge is asking Old Man Logan about, what happened to him in the future. And Logan's like, that future isn't going to come to pass, probably. And Forge is like, well, tell me anyway. And Old Man Logan says, I'm not sure, but I've heard this story about. Well, it starts with the Rhino gang. The Rhino, I guess, in Old Man Logan's future, ran a little gang in the wastelands, and he says they were gobbling up territory in Arizona, and then they went to expand into New Mexico, and they wanted this Cheyenne reservation in the South Dakota Badlands. And Old Man Logan says there was a story of a mad scientist there, a warrior shaman, who was hell-bent on stopping Rhino and protecting his people. So basically it's the story of this shaman, inventing machinery to take down the Rhino, including this exosuit.
Did you see what's written on the exosuit?
Yeah, Colossus XL.
Yes, I love that.
And Logan says, he never knew the name of the shaman, but he figured he knew who it was, and Forge says, you never came to lend me a hand, and he says, believe it or not, I had a few problems of my own to deal with, bub.
A little bit.
Yeah. So they land, Forge starts setting up. That's when Cerebra teleports Storm back in, and after they get some privacy, they Storm decides to talk to him. She says, after everything they've been through, the Terrigen and Apocalypse and everything, she couldn't have done it without him. And she says, the truth is, I treated you the way I have because it's easier to push you away than to deal with how I really feel. And she says, we might not make it all out alive, and she gives him a hug, and she says, I don't know what will happen when this is all over, but I once loved you very much, and so much has happened since then. A part of me always will. And, and then that's when Cerebra comes back and takes Storm, I guess, to the big Inhuman X-Men fight, and...
Yeah, big fight.
So...
But it was a good... Yeah.
I was going to say, good issue, good Forge issue.
Yes. I like Forge. Forge is one of those characters that I never really read a lot of his books, but I read his Marvel Universe handbook to the Marvel Universe entry when I was a kid, and man, I just fell in love with him. And I'm always a little weirded out when him and Storm are together because he invented the ray that took away mutant powers that made her not have powers for a while.
Yes.
But they're friends now.
Yes. But thumbs up. Like I said, thumbs up for me.
Okay, and I liked it too.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. It was a good story. I mean, every so often I'm very critical and complain about things, but I do also understand that some of the reason you have that designed in stupidity is because it would be a real boring story if you didn't have designed in stupidity. But for what it's worth, that's one of the reasons Black Panther winds up being my pick of the week. Spoiler. Because that Ta-Nehisi Coates, not a lot of designed-in stupidity throughout it. Anyway, opening up on my next book, Doctor Strange number 16, The Return of Dormammu. Very good book. We open up with a flashback to Doctor Strange and the Ancient One going to fight Dormammu. The Ancient One gives Doctor Strange a gun, says, shoot me in the event that, my head bursts into flames. Because we're going to be doing demonic possession, and we cut forth to the future. And this is one of these, well, we'll get to that in a second, but it's a pretty cool thing. There's actually a lot of references to the Doctor Strange movie in here. We have Dormammu with Doctor Strange in his clutches. He's about to kill him, and then he stabs him with an enchanted dagger. To which it's like, Steven, you're stabbing me in the finger with an enchanted dagger? He says, you're damn right I am. You ready to give up yet? It's like, this is so beyond pathetic. It defies even my imagination. Tell me how is this not over? It says, because I'm still breathing, you son of a and he throws him. And then again, this is this nice little reference to the movie is, the cape being very sentient, and he says, thank you, cloak, old pal. But this isn't the cloak of levitation. This is a new cloak, but it's certainly a very very friendly cloak. And then we see that Mr. What's his name? Mr. The crazy.
Mr.
I'm trying to remember what his name was. Anyway, all of the pain that all the eyes and pain that Stephen has gone through, and he's talking to the orb, and orb is like, the orb is in love.
Mr. Misery.
Mr. Misery and orb. Oh, there's a ship for you, man. I am so Mr. Orbery. We see Wong and Zelma dealing with stuff, and I love this. There's a nice interchange between the orb and Zelma, where he keeps on calling her the mistress of the mystic arts. But there's a nice thing where basically Dormammu gets into his monologuing. Yeah, we'll get to that later. But he gets actually that's next week is the monologuing bit. But he gets into his monologue about all the things he's going to do to Stephen before he kills him as Stephen gets away. And he reaches out and gets his moon mojo, made from the husks of beetles that live deep beneath the lunar surface. It's the last one I've got, last one anyone's got. If I'm very lucky, it might be enough to put him to sleep for just, never mind. Nope, belt ruined, all gone, all hope. Ancient One, help me. And then basically, Doctor Strange asks him, how did he survive? And the Super Saiyan Superman, he's basically says, I told him where Shuma Gorath was. So they left me alone, and then I told him, and then I was fine. And then we see Mr. Misery basically getting all up in Wong's business. We get the whole Zelma Miller and Zelma Stanton and Orb thing, where he says, I like where this is going, but you definitely won't, Zelma Stanton, Mistress of the Mystic Arcs. And I'll be watching Mistress Stanton from the shadows. I'm always watching the naughty ones. But if I were you, I might think twice about helping. The doctor, after all. He prefers to pay his own tab. And we see Doctor Strange doing the exorcism on Dormammu back in the day because he refuses to shoot Dormammu. We cut back to Dormammu and Doctor Strange now, and Doctor Strange basically calls up all the freaking magic that's left in the universe. Rah! I think, this is a great thing. It's a cool moment. But you do get the feeling that, I sure hope we're not going to be doing this every week. Oh, all the magic, I sent it here. But basically, he does banish Dormammu, and wisely, banishes him to the realm of Shuma Gorath, because, you know what, Super Science Superman, he couldn't quite beat Shuma Gorath. So, Shuma Gorath, still, he's got a cracked up eye, but he's still there, and he's not too happy with Doom, or Dormammu. We see then that Carl Mordu actually saved him, helped him out, and says, it's time, that he's going to deal with him, and then of course, Zelma Stanton puts a magic rope around Mordu's neck, and the ghost plane flies him to Tibet. Waka waka. And then we find out that Wong is gone and he has been taken over by Mr. Misery. Bum, bum, bum. Next issue, State of Misery. Big thumbs up for this book. I really am liking the Doctor Strange Blood in the Aether plotline. It really seems very strong. And I'm loving it. How about you, Phil?
Oh, yeah, it's great. Every month I'm just like, where are they going to go with this next? It's like crazy, like in a good way.
Yeah, well, I love this whole idea of the, Doctor Strange sort of without powers, It's
it's like they're rewriting the world of magic in Marvel, yeah.
What's your next book, Phil?
I guess I will go to the oversized Deadpool 25, the finale of Deadpool 2099.
This was fun.
Mm-hmm. Titled "Go Ask the Skrulls, Child."
Which winds up such an awesome tie-in.
Mm-hmm. So basically, the Wade's daughter Warda is set to turn the city into a bloodbath, and unless she gets her mother Shikla back, and Wade can't remember where he buried her because he sends Ellie to dig up Doc Samson's grave. She's like, nope, Doc Samson's still dead. And I just hear Charlie going, "Aw."
What's weird is that I don't think that the first time we've dug up Doc Samson. I think Doc Samson is like a running gag getting dug up lately.
Oh yeah, I think Deadpool did it once in the present too, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what because I know the Hulk did it. I know Deadpool did it. Although what's weird is that Dr. Samson actually is back because we saw him at the very start of Civil War. So, like pre-Pleasant Hill, he was there.
At least in this, you could say it's maybe an alternate future or something.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure he died. He may have died again eventually.
Yeah. But
it's like those Robins. They just die. They die once a week.
Listen, enough said for that. Or enough said. World Finest to get that show. But yeah. But then so everyone takes off to stop Warda, and Iron Fist and Deadpool have a conversation, and Iron Fist says something about he shows him some sort of object, but he says, we have to talk about this later. But I don't think they ever do. At least not in this issue.
No, spoilers. No, they never do. It's kind of this. It's one of those really hilarious things about it. It was like throughout the whole thing, Iron Fist is like, you have to choose, you have to make this decision, and and then at the very end, I was like, no, never mind. Just brushed away. And it seemed like it was something that like he had to pick which of his daughters would do something. He kept on thinking it was very weird where they were going with it. It's like there was a lot of hints and implications that there was like my take on it was that someone had to take over the Iron Fist legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Because he kept on telling Wade he had to get fit, and you have to pick one of your daughters. Something. It seemed like there was some kind of implication there, but maybe less so. I don't know.
Mm. So So Wade faces Warda. She's saying, "Where's Shikla?" He says, "I'm never gonna tell you." So then Warda takes some innocent girl hostage, and he said the Wilson family feud ends tonight, and she says, "You want army?" And he says, "This army," and it's Iron Fist and his ninjas and Agent Preston basically attacking Warda's people. Then I guess, what is this, a mechanical dragon or something? But Ellie takes that.
That's her dragon from the first issue who doesn't want to be resurrected all the time.
Exactly.
Just wants to die. It wasn't designed for this.
So then we get the big... Ellie shows up, starts fighting Warda, but Warda unleashes, I guess, some kind of demon thing, and but when she opens it, it's real tiny, and Deadpool's like, didn't I need help from the X-Men to beat that thing last time? And he's like, no, not the X-Men, it was a few Avengers. It wasn't Lang, was it Pym? And then it gets all big. He's like, oh yeah, it was Lang, but we hit it with Pym particles.
Yes. That was awesome.
So everyone's freaking out. Iron Fist attempts to defeat it until the creature swallows him whole.
Always a mistake.
Yes. And
just ask Kronos, always chew before you swallow.
So,
that's a Greek myth reference there, kids.
That's right.
And Zeus, too. He did the same problem with Athena.
So Deadpool tries to shoot the creature dead. Then Ellie and Warda are fighting, and Warda appears to... Well, she does. She burns Ellie alive. Or wait, what she hit her with?
No, she burned her alive.
Liquid napalm she hits her with, yes. And then Warda drags Wade down into the monster metropolis, and she's like, I thought you'd be more mad I killed your other daughter. And Wade says, but I remember that Ellie is a mutant. And what did you think of this, Charlie? Instead of regenerating constantly like Deadpool does, she just regenerates all at once, I guess, when she dies, and it turns back the clock. After her body dies, it's born again at the exact age that her mutant ability sparked. Her gift is the reboot with all her memories intact. So she was like an older woman. Now she's back. She has all her memories, but she's like in her teenage body again.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. That was like probably one of the coolest superpowers, except I guess that she goes back to being like 13. It's like, it's not like she's like, 16. She's like, oh, I'm screwed. I can't drink legally anymore. Although who knows what the legal drinking is in 2099? They could be real lax. That's like a corptocracy there. So,
So then Iron Fist comes popping like halfway out of the creature's chest, but he can't get all the way out. But I found this interesting. Back down in Monster Metropolis when Wade's talking to Warda, and he's like, you were asking me, did you get anything? Why did Ellie get everything? Why didn't you get anything? He's like, you got the recklessness, the anger. He's like, all the things that Steve and the others exploited.
Yeah, I loved that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the greatest aspects of Deadpool are those moments of self-awareness. Self-awareness that, honestly, I think you don't get in most any other comic book character, save maybe Howard the Duck, but even Howard the Duck falls into comic bookery often. But Wade is like the one character that can sometimes stop and really be aware of how people take advantage of him, you know? And yeah, and as far as Steve, because obviously that ties into a whole bunch of stuff when we get into our Steve Rogers issues this week, which are powerful. Yeah, but yeah, people take advantage of this insanity of Deadpool, you know? But what I found most fascinating, I don't know if this is here yet, but just why he and Shikla had the falling out.
Oh, I don't know. Well,
And
Ellie,
to me, that was like the most beautiful aspect. I mean, that's where the whole title of the episode comes from.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, Ellie comes down and she's helping him fight him, and that's when Wade tells Warda, she's like, "Why did Mother fight you?" He's like, "There's no great answer." He's like, "Before you're born, she tried to annex New York, and we fought. After we reconciled, she broke it off for reasons I don't understand. She hid your existence from me. We were on again, off again for years. We were always on the road to open war. I needed help from the Avengers, the Guardians, and the Fantastic 54. As soon as Shikla decided to try and tame the surface world, it was all over for her. On planet Earth, you either coexist or you cease to exist. Just ask the Skrulls." And she's like, "Who are the Skrulls?" He's like, "Exactly my point." He's like, "They did way less bleep than your mother. They showed up pretending to be some of us. You know what they got for it? We blew up their home world. That was actually the Avengers' plan. We made the Skrulls space hobos. That's how it went down. You can look it up if you don't believe me."
And to me, that is like the most awesome part of this story.
Mm-hmm.
Is it totally calls out the comic book. I mean, and granted, when you're reading that story, and this is a great aspect about like how narratives change historically. When you're in that moment, you're like seeing every decision that's being made. You're like, not for nothing, they freaking killed the gods of the Skrulls. It's like completely disrupted their entire mystical philosophical order of the cosmos. Honestly, I'm going to tell you right now, what happened to the Skrulls blowing up their homeworld was probably the least horrific thing that was done to them. But that's the thing. And in that moment, in that heat of war, things happen. But when you look at it later, it's like, yeah, that was the plan. We just blew up their homeworld. And, Deadpool makes that point. It's like on Earth, it's important to remember that the life force of this universe is Gaia.
Mm-hmm.
And Gaia exists on the planet Earth. It's a very geocentric universe, the Marvel universe. And yeah, you cross that line and you become space hobos. Like the Skrulls.
But so then they decide the way to defeat Warda is they download Agent Preston into her head, just like that's how Preston got into that LMD, in the present. Is she used to be a SHIELD agent. Her body was killed, and like through magic, she was stuck in Deadpool's head for a while until they were able to get her out and put her in an LMD body.
Oh, I never realized that. I just always thought she was just an LMD that thought she was, that was like self-aware.
Yeah, no, that's the whole thing. Yeah, she used to be a normal woman. That's she had the whole family and everything. And yeah, she was killed, and there was like a magic spell. Her mind, she was stuck in Deadpool's head for a while. She was like an actual voice in his head that was real. So, what did you think of the whole Shikla thing?
Oh, that was so. I mean, it's kind of sweet and beautiful and tragic. Mm-hmm. I mean, he makes this point. She came from a different time, and it kind of reminded me of that great bit with a Wiccan when he confronts the elder spirit of the fourth universe, and like he says, "I will give you doubt," ooh, and and Wiccan's like, "Dude, doubt is all I feel all the time. And it's just this idea that, you have these ancient beasts from the ancient universe, and, it's like they're not prepared for how messed up our world is, which of course speaks to our own self-importance as we write our stories. But still, I've seen memes about that where, like, Cthulhu rises and says, I am here to destroy everything. Everyone's like, yeah, get to it. It's like, wait, I guess you started without me. Modern political humor. But yeah, it is. No, it was a great. I mean, this was a great Deadpool bit too. It was a great Deadpool. Honestly, this whole kind of older Zen Deadpool, I like him. I like Deadpool 2099 as Deadpool. I think that's a pretty cool Deadpool to have. Oh, and I love that we now know what Ellie's superpower is, mutant power is, and that's pretty awesome. Yeah, so that's cool. It's sort of like Mr. Immortal, except a little bit cooler. Because Mr. Immortal just always goes back to who he is, but this is sort of back to being a teenager, which, honestly, I guess if you'd gotten to be 60 and got to be a teenager again, that's a pretty cool thing to jump back to,
Oh, yeah, people would kill for that power.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty awesome, to the point where, you kind of feel like at some point she's like, let me go jump off this building right now. See where I might die. Anyway. Okay, so let's go to our next book. You want to do Thunderbolts next?
Yes.
Okay, Thunderbolts. Justice like lightning. Okay, we open up in some little swamp area where we got clearly evil guy speak, saying, yes, at last, start the transmission. Soon we will return to the Queen. Queen Mother's embrace, her nectar will sustain us once more. Bum, bum, bum. Cut to Secret Lair of the Thunderbolts, where the Fixer has hooked up Bucky with a new arm. Basically complains about basically that lousy arm he had last time. Oh, technically, didn't Stark redesign that arm? Well, he gave him the fleshy arm, and then I guess he went back to the metal arm for some reason. And the new arm, it's got all kinds of great little bits. You got a flamethrower, you got a knife. You also have a detachable hand, so we can do a whole Phil Coulson thing there. We get Mach 10 sort of talking to Songbird, bring her up to speed. We meet Kobik, who decides to do her hair all pink and white too. Kobik's crazy. And we get a lot with Atlas, whom Atlas is like my favorite character in this. He doesn't get a lot, but you just know that he is just such a guy who's just happy to be on the team, Oh
yeah.
I love that about him. We see everyone getting ready for the big battle, and they face some old Power Pack villains who basically totally are outmatched, are quickly defeated, even though they're like, we are the bad guys. And they're like, okay. They defeat them. They just want to, we want to just go back to their queen, which actually makes you feel like sad for these poor guys, Sure, they're like, oh, we want to conquer the world, but we just want to go home. We crash landed here. We're just 7 crazy castaways here on Gilligan's Planet. We find out that Mach 10 and Songbird got a thing going on. I don't know if that's canon prior to this, but it is now. And yeah, I figured they had probably had that relationship before. And then next issue, get ready to spend an extra buck, kids, because it's the Thunderbolts 20th anniversary issue with all the Thunderbolts, at least on the cover, including apparently a scroll for some reason. Yeah, looking forward to it. Thumbs up for this book. It was fun. It was delightful. Nothing really to hate about it, I mean, that's what it comes down. It's like It's a light book. It's not. There's nothing grand to it except for the fact that it is a crazy world in which they live. But you follow it through, and it was enjoyable. Thumbs up.
Oh yeah, big
Any
thumbs
thoughts?
up. They're slowly but surely assembling that original team. I want to see some. I
Yeah.
want to see some version of. I want to see some version of Citizen V back.
Well, you know who's Citizen V now?
Who?
That's DaCosta's new code name.
Oh yeah.
And of course, DaCosta, good friends with Songbird.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I wonder if that was an intentional hint they were giving us. Who knows? What's next, Phil?
All right, I guess I will go to Daredevil number 16. This one was close to being my pick of the week. It was a top contender.
Yeah, this was real. Yeah.
Yeah, so it picks up where last issue left off. You know, Daredevil's been hiring these guys. He put a hit out on himself, but he reveals in this issue, that was mostly so he could draw Bullseye out, and he could get the serum that Bullseye concocted. Is it a serum? So whatever he made before that, he was able to give one of his guys, you know, Daredevil's sensory powers. So Matt wants to give that the blind spot.
Okay, can I just stop for a minute? Since when is Bullseye a guy who develops serums to give himself superpowers?
I don't know if it was a serum, but I know what they're talking about. It was during Mark Wade's run, and he was. I
mean, I'm not saying that Bullseye couldn't gain access to something like this, but it kind of implies almost like Bullseye was like sitting in a lab one day and it's like, yes, this will give me Daredevil's heightened senses.
Because Bullseye was working with a bunch of people. He was working with Lady Bullseye. I think the Hand might have been involved, so it's probably more mystical than like scientific.
Okay. So it was a group effort.
Mm-hmm. And there's the whole thing with Bullseye, you know, with the slow traveling bullet. He shoots at Daredevil, and it's like heading towards Daredevil the whole issue. But then they flash back to Matt talking to this priest, Father Jordan, talking to him about good and evil, and you know how he's kind of hasn't been to church lately, and.
Wait, is that the same Father Jordan from the end, or is that because?
I believe so. I think it's the same priest the whole time. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I kind of thought the guy he sees at the end is a different priest, which confuses. It makes more sense if they're the same priest, but then I don't know why they're in that old school confessional.
Well, they really don't give you a clear look at his face at the end, but I'm pretty because he said at the end he says hello, Father Jordan. Yeah, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're walking down the street talking about, good and evil and everything, and then Father Jordan rolls up his sleeves when they get stopped by this gang, and got those tattoos, the crosses where there's supposed to be flames coming out of them. The cross.
Well, that's, I guess, the order of the Ordum de Draconis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's weird to me was like, is that a thing in this series? Because they like show the old Knights Templar guy with him in the middle, and then they show like a cop.
This is the first I've heard of it.
Okay, maybe it's like a real thing, and there's like a whole order of Catholic cops who are like the Order Draconis, who are like killing people or something. I don't know. Doesn't seem to be high on civil rights. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But then Daredevil's back on the rooftop, waiting for Bullseye's bullet to hit. Thinking about it, gave up the woman he loves, his best friend, let everyone on Earth forget who he was. He thought he could find the perfect world, but
although what you're kind of missing a point here. which is the philosophical underpinning. This is this great talking bit because he asks, why does God let evil exist?
Yes.
And the priest makes the point and says, look, I'm going to give you the theological answer, which is, God. If we assume God created the universe, then we know two things. One, that he created an imperfect universe, and he also created things that could envision a perfect universe.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wants us to fight for that perfect universe so that we will appreciate it, I guess. Which is
I think that was the whole point. He says, if God just handed us everything on a platter, we wouldn't appreciate it. But if we have to work for it or fight for it, we're going to appreciate it more.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the basic fall from grace in the garden story. It's like, here is man in perfection, but man is a creature that cannot be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the deeper thing, is that humanity by its nature, because we are both spirit and flesh, maybe is flawed, that we can never truly be happy, because, that's how you get Kang. Yeah, I've been reading the previews for next week's book. So yeah, there's a great tie in there with Kang, about how you can live in utopia, and it's like, utopia is boring. Let's go blow stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was such a fantastic theological dialogue there. So I really appreciated it.
Well, yeah, because then Daredevil eventually realizes, he's like, I was waiting for God to show me a sign, show me anything. He's like, but you don't make deals with God, you make deals with the devil. Which is when he Billy clubs the bullet, takes out Bullseye pretty easily, I'd say. I don't know if he's ever taken Bullseye out that quickly.
I don't know. Well, Bullseye's. I don't know. I've never understood why Bullseye was like a big threat to people. I mean, he's a good shot, but it's like, to quote T'Challa, "You do know we have circus performers with the same skills that you've implied." It's.
But so Daredevil takes Bullseye down, and I guess I don't know. I guess Bullseye carrying the serum, or did he tell him where it was at? Because they really don't show. He takes out Bullseye, then the next day he's at the hospital as Matt Murdock with the serum, but he gets told that Sam, Blind Spot, got checked out by his mother. So
yeah, I thought that was just Ecto Cooler. That he just gave him some Ecto Cooler. Yeah, that's totally the serum I used, that I created all by myself. Just me. Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, it's like, I mean, that's the thing I'm going to say on that is, like, really, you go to, like, because that's the thing, is like, whoever created this serum probably wasn't Bullseye. Yeah, no. Like, Bullseye might have had input. He might have, like, just, but it's like, I don't see Bullseye in the lab with the test tubes. Like, that's not that character. I can imagine, him working with people who are developing this serum for him to give him these powers, but maybe they just felt, oh, well, he'd have it in reserve. I don't know.
But so after that, at the end, Matt goes to the church. He goes to the confessional. Father Jordan's there, and he tells Father Jordan's like, I didn't think you'd be back. He's like, I didn't think I wasn't sure if I'd be either, but I'm glad I am. Last page. My name is Matthew Murdock. I have another name. That name is Daredevil. A little while back, everyone in the world knew that. Now no one does. Let's talk about how I did that. I can't wait for next issue. I've been waiting for this. How did he do it?
Okay. Did you read what the next arc is entitled?
No.
Do you want me to tell you?
Yes. Oh, wait. Isn't it purple or something?
Yes, it's purple. Gee, I wonder how he made everyone forget who he was.
Yeah, but how did he
do it on a
worldwide scale, though?
Did you ever read Emperor Doom? Yeah. Even though the Purple Man officially died during that arc, but I'm sure we're going to get an Emperor Doom reference in there. And speaking of emperors, man, New York City, 1940.
Oh wait, okay, but yeah, thumbs up
Yeah,
on Daredevil.
I'm
Like I
sorry.
said,
Yeah, we're doing Captain America number 10 next. So,
okay, but you like Daredevil?
oh man, I'm sorry. What? Oh, did I like Daredevil?
Yeah.
Yes, I enjoyed Daredevil greatly. It was a very good book. It was almost my pick of the week. I mean, totally hit my Catholic nerd spot.
Oh yeah.
I am a good Catholic boy. 12 years, man. 12 years I got under my belt on Catholicism. So, yes. So moving. So do you want to move on to Captain America number 10?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Man, what do you think about the alteration to his origin here? I mean, most disturbing, I think it. We know it. Okay. Here's what I'm going to say, and this is subtle. You see him watching the newsreel of Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
And you do see he is frowning. Almost as if he's not happy that this is who Hydra is working with.
Mm-hmm.
We see him working as a dishwasher at this diner where he heard that Erskine is working. And he has been sent to kill Erskine, apparently, because he's got his little poison bottle, which is conveniently marked with a nice big skull and crossbones. And, the general recognizes him as the kid who keeps on coming down to the recruitment office. And Erskine tells him to refill his coffee. And then we cut to the modern day. And who was found guilty on all charges? Phil.
Maria Hill.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. I really thought that Cap was manipulating it to leave her in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Although now I don't know why he killed the one guy, because obviously, he could have secured her being gone. But again, that goes into what I kind of wonder about, like, who is this Captain America that we're meeting here? And then we cut to Agent Carter talking with some senator about the SHIELD Act and how, we need this to get approved. And they say, on the left, I have people who say we don't want someone having this power. And on the right, we don't want to be, we don't want to give up our law enforcement agencies to some schmuck. And then we see Cap coming in, dealing with the fact that Hill is basically bolted. And we see that she flies to Alpha Flight Station in her own personal Lola, basically to give Carol the plans to the global shield. And then we see Steve getting totally ripped a new one by the skull. Oh, we see Steve talking to Selvig, who's basically telling him you have to kill Jack Flag. And this is like, and then we flash back to the past, and Steve fighting the guy who stole the girl's tips. Steve is coming to murder Jack Flag, but before he does, this is important. Before he does, what happens, Phil?
Oh, Kathy walks in and says they're going to pull the plug.
Yeah, Free Spirit says we're going to pull the plug on him.
Mm-hmm.
But he never gives him the poison.
Nope.
Yeah. And this is like, it's like I'm reading this book and I'm like thinking Cap's still in there.
Yes.
Cap is still fighting this.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get to the next PO, there's something else going on. Which has got me... I'm wondering what occurs between Captain America 10 and the Oath. but because here it feels like Cap is still struggling with who he is and who he once was.
Mm-hmm.
Then when we get to the Oath, it's a little more straightforward. Now at the end of this issue, basically Sharon gets appointed, and she turns them down because the only person that will be trusted enough to run this new super shield is Cap. We see Cap coming back, beaten and bloodied, and the general tells him, "You know what? Come by the recruitment station tomorrow. Things might be different." After he fought the mugger and got his waitress friend's tips back. Big thumbs up for Captain America #10. It was a really excellent book. Gives me this, and this is the thing, and this is who's writing this one. This is Spencer. This is such a good book because it does have mystery, it does have intrigue, but it's always giving you little breadcrumbs along the way. It gives you a reason to tune in next week, and I think that's why some of the books that I am getting softer on, I'm not there yet, because it's like they're not giving me anything to keep me intrigued. I think that for overall plot development, Captain America isn't going any faster than anyone else, but they are giving me a lot of reason. They're giving me a lot of carrots to stick through it,
Yes.
as opposed to sticks to make me drop the whole thing. But that's my feeling. What do you think, Phil?
It was great. It was a thumbs up. I wish they would have told me to read this first, because I think I read the Oath first. But it was still good.
Yeah, I find that it's always good, even when you're reading out of order. You can follow along.
Oh yeah.
We've all got decades of comic experience here. It's like we can pick up,
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I have a theory. Should we get to the Oath? Because I have a theory that Steve Rogers is in there. Because I'm like, I think Steve Rogers made a big mistake in the Oath, but maybe it's intentional on a certain level.
Well, I think a lot of these mistakes are intentional. I think the fact that Jack Flag doesn't get this shot is absolutely intentional, because I think you and I are on the exact same mad comic book theory on what we're going to see when we get to the Oath. So, Phil, what happens in the Oath?
All right, Civil War II, the Oath #1, my pick of the week. What starts off with Steve Rogers arriving at the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, and one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents saying your guest or whatever is waiting. Steve goes into a room, sits down, and he's talking to Tony Stark in his coma or whatever you want to call it. And see, not to jump ahead too much, but I think this is the mistake that that may be intentional with Steve Rogers. He lays out like his whole plan to Tony, and I'm thinking, this isn't like an ordinary coma. Stark's been experimenting on himself, and who knows what's going on. Stark could possibly be he might be able to hear every word Steve's saying.
And to that extent, well, and let me just make this point, is that Steve actually calls it out as he's doing his monologue.
Mm-hmm.
He says to him, he kind of wants Tony to wake up.
Yeah.
And maybe in my telling you this is because I don't know if he knows that Tony's AI is over at Riri's.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna be surprised if when Tony does wake up, and he does, and one of these things I love Steve saying is like, I know you're gonna come back. I know that this is just temporary.
That's what I'm thinking. Or if about our theory, there's a part of Steve that's fighting it. That I think this is set up for him kind of like letting Tony know what's going on with him. So, when Stark does wake up, because he will, that Stark's going to lead everyone against the Empire.
Well, not for nothing. Not for nothing. Steve straight up calls that out.
Mm-hmm.
As he starts to talk about himself as a separate person.
Mm-hmm.
As the person Tony knew, who he is not. And it almost seems like Steve found out what Kobik did to him, but Steve chose to remain who he is now rather than who he was.
Well, I'm thinking it's like the LMD programming like we saw this week on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the May LMD, that it's like programming, so maybe there's, on a certain level, he realizes that Kobik's reprogrammed him, but he can't fight it.
Well, no, but he specifically calls it out when he's talking to Kobik. He says, or to Tony, he says, he always held back. And he really is talking about himself beforehand as a separate person, And it seems, because he says, I am that man, but I'm not that man. And it really makes me think that he knows he was manipulated, but he likes it. Which one imagine had been.
Yeah. I don't know about like it, but yeah. I could see that.
Well, like I said, what I'm going to say is between this issue and Cap 10, he is much less conflicted.
Yeah.
In Cap 10, he still wants to be the hero and he wants to make this work. He still seems very, very positive. Like I said, he's from this very more positive version of Hydra. He's from Hydra as understood by a child from the tales told to her by a kindly old Johann Schmidt, It's not the Hydra that has been. And, when he is discussing this in his speech, and he talks about that Hydra that is, this new splinter Hydra, which is the racist Hydra and the evil Hydra, and the Hydra nobody wants to be a part of. But that somehow keeps on recruiting thousands of people.
I think it's a thing like Kobik didn't alter much, but just altered a few things. Like there was an episode of Batman the Animated Series where Scarecrow hit Batman. It was like the opposite of a fear gas. It took away all fear, which sounds good in principle, but like Batman was like taking unnecessary risks and was like about to kill the Scarecrow because he had lost his fear of killing. So maybe it's something like that with Kobik. Kobik, just altered some of his memories and just like took away. I mean, before Steve would have a problem with like oppressing people and stuff. Maybe he just like kind of tweaked that, so now he's not as conflicted about holding people down and taking over.
Yeah. And again, that's this, like I think there's something that's going to happen between Cap 10 and Oath. I think there's some missing story here that maybe we're going to get either in Oath or in Cap. But there's clearly something missing here because,
or Secret Empire, because I think this was a one shot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think this is the lead up to Secret Empire.
Oh yeah.
But I think. Yeah, and for what it is, you get to that very end, and the screen is black, and it says this is the end of the book, and you see the big black Secret Empire logo. It's like this is the end.
Yeah, that's in the print book. Yeah, it's the very last page. It's just a black page. It just says Secret Empire coming 2017.
Yeah. I, for one, am excited about it, but here's what I'll say. The Cap in this is much more malevolent.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when he does his complete heel turn at the end. And he seems like the normal Cap throughout it, which is like, even the normal Hydra Cap, which is this somewhat conflicted, still generally positive. Although, again, this is the Cap that was willing to kill a billion people in a Chitauri invasion that he engineered in power.
Do you think maybe the Kobik thing isn't like just like a one-time thing? Maybe as time goes on, it gets worse. Like back when he first got twisted, he was just willing to bump off a sidekick or two. Now he's willing to bring alien invaders in and take over the world.
Yeah, well, what I think it is, and this is why I think as he gets more aware that he has been changed, he is more comfortable with the change that has occurred. It's sort of like my theory on Superior Spider-Man, that it was never Otto, that was Peter the whole time. It's just that he gave himself the excuse by being Otto to actually be the selfish supervillain he wanted to be. And I think that maybe that's this aspect of Steve, is that there was this part of him that just always wanted to be, the big tough guy in town, the one who was unquestioned, as as a guy who grew up as the little tiny kid.
Well, the other part of the theory I had wasn't the Red Skull's mind locked away in a corner of Steve's brain when he came back?
Yes, at one point, one of the, of course,
could a lot of this just be Kobik kind of unshackled that skull?
Could be. Although it's important to remember that that's always that thing that we say about the rewriting of memories and this other consciousness on your own memory, is that it doesn't necessarily get to be as powerful as it thinks it might be.
Yeah, but I mean, just everything he's doing now seems like everything the Red Skull was dreamed about.
Well, exactly, and to me that was like the most shocking aspect of this issue, is when we see Hydra out in the open at the end, which is always this weird thing to me, is supervillain branding. It's like those could all be SHIELD guys, and you wouldn't think it was evil. So if you had the SHIELD checkpoint and the SHIELD internment camp, you might not be quite so overwhelmed with the evilness of it.
Yes.
But you make it a Hydra, it's like, oh, well, now we know they're evil.
Yep.
Of course, that's assuming that's not another bait and switch, and it's actually the benevolent Hydra. And for what it's worth, like I said, when we go back and we read the Cap stories, Hydra's ties to the legends of the Brotherhood of the Shield are pretty obvious. So it's interesting, one way or the other.
But yeah, I mean, it's so good. I don't want to even spoil it for people, because that's why I didn't get into too much detail. But it's basically, Steve telling Tony, I'm going to tear down everything you and Carol Danvers have done, and you two have been, we're fighting each other, and the public is, the public is sick of this, and they're scared, and they don't want to be scared anymore, and Hydra will bring protection, and
well, yeah,
the one line that really interested me is when he's telling Tony, he's like you just want to follow yourself, you want to be in charge, because he's like, you had a problem this war, but in the first Civil War, you really didn't have a problem telling us to follow your authority. You don't you don't have a problem with authority that's not your own.
Well, exactly. I mean, he really called out Tony right to the madness, and honestly, I gotta say, man, that heel turn at the very end, it was such a. Who wrote this?
It's a Spencer again.
Oh, Spencer. Yeah, well, Spencer's a good writer.
I'm
gonna tell you something. Maybe we shouldn't be leaning so heavily on Bendis. Maybe we should let this Spencer kid do a little more stuff.
Yes.
Because that heel turn was so perfect. Because up until the very end, I was like, there's still some good. And this is the good Hydra. This is this good Cap. And it's like, bam, nope. This is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. This is the worst of the worst. I'm fascist Cap. I make William Burnside like the good guy. Ooh, although my prediction, mark my words, William Burnside is coming back, and he's gonna be the one to take out Cap. You watch. Because William Burnside's not a bad guy. He was just a little crazy. Mental illness does not make you a bad person. Choosing to be a bad person makes you a bad person. Like I say, Donald Trump is a very mentally ill person, but that doesn't make him a bad person. He made other choices in his life that make him a bad person, but it's not his mental illness. Don't blame the mental illness.
Yeah, but I mean, except for like fictional stories, who tell me who in this world thinks they're the bad guy of the story? Even Trump thinks he's the good guy in the story.
Well, yeah, well, that's only because he's not intelligent enough to comprehend his own evil. I
But
think
I'm just saying, with
I
some rare
think
exceptions, no matter
story.
what evil things people do, it's like, who thinks they're the bad guy? Steve thinks he's the good guy.
Well, actually, well, yeah, I mean, Steve definitely thinks he's the good guy in this, but in that sense, well, here's the thing: is that comic books you have a lot more depth of character than you actually have in human beings. Human beings don't often think about themselves as deeply as fictional characters think about themselves, because fictional characters exist in someone else's mind. So someone else has actually thought about every thought inside that character's head. So, as an example, many sociopaths may think they're the good guy, but they just think they're the good guy because they think themselves as the only things that exist. Thinks he's the good guy because he thinks at the end of the day, fascism is the right path. Yes. And I loved this great bit that you get before this, which is this idea that, which is something I've said for years, which is like, when you make the racism analogy with mutants or now Inhumans, it's a lot different because whereas granted you had that same sort of irrational fear of people of a different group or different culture, neither black people nor Muslims nor Jews actually could shoot lasers out of their eyes. That when you call the guy who's worried about the mutant going to his son's school because the mutant can shoot a laser beam out of their eyes and kill someone, maybe you don't want to be called a racist quite right then because that's actually a kind of real threat, that I don't want my daughters going to school with the Purple Man or the Purple Man's kids, Maybe that makes me a bigot. Maybe it makes me someone with just a half an inch of rationality. Now, of course, which is why you always have this problem whenever you want to use that. Oh, you just hate us because we're differently superpowered. It's like, no, we're worried because you're called the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. That there is this darkness to what's going on here. And in that's a great analogy. And honestly, to me, it just very much lays bare the weakness of analogies about comic books versus other things, or even just the weakness of any analogy. Because it's like when you point out, here's the real reason why you might want to fear someone. They shoot lasers out of their eyeballs. It makes the point that everyone else that lives in fear of some other group are just idiots. Because if you're going to live in fear of a group en masse because someone in that group might be dangerous, it's foolish. Anyway, I'm very off topic on this book, but it was a really powerful, a really well written book, and yeah, it was solid. That heel turn was so strong and so out of left field. This, like I said, this Nick Spencer guy, he's a good writer. He is really good.
The big thumbs up. Like I said, my pick of the week. I recommend. Yeah, go whoever hearing this, go get that book, especially you, Stockton Piner and Kenneth Smyson. Civil War II: The Oath, #1.
Yeah, no, very good, very, very, very good. I have a different pick of the week, which is Black Panther #10.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say this is necessarily better than The Oath, but this is one of these books where, man, I'm reading it and this makes me change where I stood. Because I was going into this like, I'm going to get this issue, but this may be the last issue. This is probably the last issue, And like I said, this Ta-Nehisi Coates fella, pretty dang good writer. Um. So we open up with Shuri with her super bird powers, the ability to turn into a bunch of birds, which is kind of a cool power. I think. I don't know its offensive capabilities, but it certainly is kind of cool. Meets with the Midnight Angels and basically negotiates with them. And like, this is what is amazing about this book. This is like the talkiest book you're ever going to read. And just out of curiosity, when did Morlun attack the Black Panther?
I missed it, unless it was.
That's the Spider-Man villain, right? That's from the Spider-Verse.
I don't know.
Wait,
unless it was in a previous Black Panther series or something.
I don't know, man. Well, I guess they do eat totems, and the Black Panthers are certainly totems.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
if anyone listening knows, send email us the answer.
Yeah, let us know when Morlun attacked Wakanda. But I mean, oh man, I can't even describe reading this book. This is a book that makes you think. This is. Look, if you're a dumb guy, don't read this book. This is not a book for dumb guys.
What am I doing reading?
But if you're a dumb guy who wants to feel smart like me, the book for you. Because I mean, the story. It is like Game of Thrones with less sex, and you don't mind it not being there. I mean, the closest you get to sex is Shangamir asking T'Challa at the end of their conversation, "How is Ramonda?" Yeah, it is just awesome. It is just awesome. It is just a great talky. People standing in a room talking about what is the right way to rule Wakanda. And basically, T'Challa making the point to Changamir, look, I am the lesser of two evils. And it's like, don't you want less evil? As I've always made the point. It's like, I've never understood it. It's the lesser of two evils. Yes. So why do you want the greater of two evils? You should want the lesser, because lesser is better for when it comes to evil.
I think they're just saying they want the choice. They want a democracy. They want, if they're going to have a supreme leader, they want to pick, you shouldn't be leader. You shouldn't be a king or a leader, just because you were born to a certain family.
And of course, the obvious point is that, I absolutely want to get to that because, quite frankly, I never wanted to be king. I want to be a superhero, which, I think is one of those great. If you want to talk about privilege, there's like, the Crown Prince of Wakanda. What do you want to be when you grow up? King? It's like, no, I want to be a superhero. I'm going to invite the Fantastic Four here. I'm going to show them that I can be a superhero too. Yay, super nerd. Which kind of makes you imagine that, T'Challa totally a fanboy.
No.
A totally like the coolest fanboy ever, but still a total fanboy. Gotta see him fight Gwenpool at some point. So yeah, basically, so to sum up, Shuri tells the Majore, don't work with the bad guys. The bad guys are using the Mind Witch to basically make all their bad guys into like super soldiers. They don't need to rest or tire. Actually, I need to write Ta-Nehisi Coates to see if that was if the way that he made the Mind Witch's dominance over the bad guys' army was in any way a reference to the raised fists of righteous harmony, also known as the Boxers, from the Boxer Rebellion of ancient China, not ancient China, but the Boxer Rebellion in China from I believe it was the late 18th or 19th century. And this idea of, this empowered Revolutionary Guard that does not rest, is invulnerable in its own way. But anyway, so the Midnight Angels will not be supporting them in their fight against Wakanda, and Wakanda will be just in their dealing with the majority. It almost makes me wish I was still reading World of Wakanda, but like I said, I mean, that book got dropped last week just because I can't read every book, and and this is the thing, is what I say to these guys, I can't read every book, and if you're going to go a couple issues without really a strong structure, I don't know where I'm going with you, but this one was one that I was going to be soft on, and then I read it and I was so blown away. And so Black Panther ain't going anywhere right now, but big thumbs up for me. That was my pick of the week.
Oh yeah, big thumbs up. Hey Charlie, I thought we were going to do a quick episode tonight.
We're under 2 hours.
I know, but
it's
around the same length we usually do.
Yeah, well, you know what? It was fewer books, so much better.
I know, we love these books. I think there's a it's a little smaller next week.
No, so far I only have 3 pulled books. I just have to decide if I want to buy anything beyond the 3.
Mm-hmm.
Slapstick, I'm looking at you.
So would you like? Should we get out of here?
Yeah, let's get the heck out of here. Do you want me to give my social media?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So yeah, if you want to write to me at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. If you're not sure how to spell it, look on the podcast feed for the Super Connectivity podcast with me and Phil. And of course, if you want to follow me on Twitter, as I live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Legends of Tomorrow, and The Incredible Hulk, 7 o'clock on Saturdays on MeTV. Follow me at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality.
All right. And if you want to discuss any or all Marvel comics with us, you can always email us, marvelroundup@gmail.com. Facebook is facebook.com/allnewmarvelroundup. Our Twitter is @Marvel_Roundup. And we're even on Instagram, Marvel Roundup. And as for me, you can always talk anything Marvel or DC with me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am @nightwingpdp. And if you love Marvel, remember, I think it's usually a day or so after this goes up. Check out me and Charlie on Super Connectivity. Lilith Hellfire and I have a new show right here. Wade's World, the Deadpool podcast. I think if Rob keeps up the schedule, that's been coming out every Friday. The second episode just went up today. And if you love Marvel, go over to the 80s Reboot Overdrive channel and check out Charlie Esser and Moz Manzoor as they review the Incredible Hulk TV series. Trust me, it will not disappoint you. All right, everyone. That's it for this week. Come back next week. Like I said, I think it's a little smaller week. Well, for Charlie it is, but yeah, I think just a little bit smaller for me. But until then, everyone, come back, or else we will report you to the Secret Empire. And trust me, we do not want that.